Man, what happened with me today? What happened? What happened? What happened? I'm here. I'm here. Come on, cameras. Do what you do. What's up, fam? What's up, fam? Where's everybody at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? I see a couple of people was waiting on me, and I was getting everything together. Let me. Ah, what's happening, everybody? What it is, what it is. Come on now. I said, Everybody do the butterfly. Ah, What's happening, people? How y'all doing? Ah, damn. Damn. What's up? What's up? I'm doing well, everybody. How you doing? How you doing? Oh, hey, ma'am. How you doing? How you, mama? ah, I'm up in here tripping, people. How y'all doing? As for myself, I'm good. I'm good. At the last minute, things just start going crazy. I had to get up. Got a little crazy weather here. Um, this be Florida, so things can change on a dime, including the weather. So I had to do what I had to do to bring everything. I had everything all set, and then I had to step back and reboot everything. So I apologize for my tardiness. I hope all of you guys are doing well. Um, Want to say good evening, good evening, good evening. How you doing? How you doing? I switched up my drink tonight. I should tell y'all what I'm drinking, but until they sponsor my behind, I ain't telling nobody. But this is smoother than the Udden. Than the Udden. You can have them old relatives say words like Udden and none y'all, and there. You ain't getting a nair thing up in here. Y'all been eating since you woke up. Yeah, I'm tripping now. I'm not drunk. Man, that is good. Like some people say, that's gooder than a mug. So how's everybody doing? Yeah. So I'm running a little behind. I'm giving people a chance to see that I'm here. But y'all should know I'm gonna be here. I know you can't just rely on the because anything could happen, but I'm gonna be here. Like the old folks said, come hell or high water, I'm gonna be here. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and say, I hope you guys are doing fine. I went back. I wanted to see if we had reached any conclusions on our pending new justice, um, and I haven't received any word yet. They were still talking about Kiev and Ukraine and this, that, and the other. And I don't know, folks. It looks like it's going to happen, but I'm gonna say this: I don't believe nothing until I see it. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe nothing until I see it. So come on in, take your seats, take off your helmet, put those crayons down, stop eating those crayons. You know yeah. Stop licking them windows. Come on in, take a seat, get yourself ready. I got a little something planned for you tonight. Since it's about 4 minutes past the half hour, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get started. I'll give some people a chance. Some people are late because they have to work and so forth and so on. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna say good evening and welcome to the show. I want to thank you again for spending your Thursday night with me. Hopefully, I could give you a little something. I call these Thirsty Thursdays. So hopefully, I could give you a little something to quench your thirst. It's called News as I See It. It's my analysis of what's going on, what's happening in the world. It's my incessant needing to know and my intellectual curiosity and my deciphering and so forth and my spin. So I want to say thank you for choosing to spend your Thursday nights with me. As I always say, I'm truly humbled. All of the things you could be doing, you choose to be here with me. And for that, again, I am truly humbled. I can't say that enough. My name is Hank Batiste. My show is called Omit the Logic. This shit makes no sense. I'm your host tonight, and the voices in my head, both anxious and reinvigorated. Anxious and reinvigorated. Reinvigorated. I said it right the first time, then I messed it up the second time. I'm excited simply because when I get on you guys and you do what I ask and we do what we need to do, we keep things current, relevant, and we keep the heat on those who need to know what we're thinking and how we're feeling just by tuning into the show, whether you realize it or not. There are people watching my show that you and I know nothing about. And I can tell because of some of the comments I get, I can tell by my sheer numbers. My numbers don't match up with who's here on a weekly basis. So since I changed kind of the format of my show and put a brief synopsis on YouTube, giving them an idea of what the show is going to be about, it's been appealing to an audience outside of those people that know me. So those people that check me out on a whim, or you just get this in your inbox and you decide to check it out and you like what you hear, I'm gonna say again, go ahead and subscribe, give me a thumbs up, ring the bell so that you know when I'm coming on. If you're on my Facebook page and you're not on my YouTube page, right here, I'm gonna say go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube page. I have problems with either or, but YouTube is everlasting. I have a little bit more control there than I have on Facebook, and they're less restrictive. So I'm gonna say go to my YouTube, sign up, sign up, hit subscribe, hit the bell, let me know that you're rolling with a brother. And by hitting the bell, you will be notified when I come on air. That's what it's all about. So subscribe, hit the bell, share my show with other people because this message is for everybody older than the age of 10. Um, I said it twice and I'm going to say it one more time. I'm reinvigorated. I'm anxious. I'm excited about where we are currently. And that's because it looks like Judge Kejani Brown-Jackson is going to be confirmed. But I'm not counting my chickens yet, just yet. So, folks, let's take a deep breath. Let's be mindful of where we are and what we've achieved thus far, but let's keep the gas as well. Um, Looking back at this past week, after all of the energy that was afforded to, now you guys tell me which give me some thumbs up by what name. They've got Kimye, or they had Kimye, and they had some, Billery and some other things. So I decided I'd give the infamous duo their own name. So your choices are Willada or Willada and Jadezilla. Jade Willa. So I'm both amusing and excited, not about Will and Jada, but just about the I'm gonna use a term tonight. I use sometimes we use what's popular to get people to tune in. Then we segue or we transition into telling them what we really wanted to tell them. So that was my reason for bringing it up. That and the fact of where we are as people of color, I think, is we're at a crossroads. we decide whether we want to continue to be ratchet and ghetto or whether we want to show our kids and our grandkids something that's more upstanding. You know what I mean? So, my daughter made a comment, and I'm not going to put her on blast, but I'm going to say she made this comment that a lot of folks, a lot of people of color, were just upset because black folks act a fool in front of white folks. And I said, no, 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 no. The reason it upset me is for two reasons. First of all, young black men don't need another reason to fight and kill each other. That's first and foremost. And secondly, it hurts my feeling anytime one black man decides to degrade and embarrass another black man. And it hurts my feeling even more when it seems to be precipitated by the will of a black woman. So, if you believe in the Bible, you believe in what? Eve supposedly led Adam astray, and we know that Delilah cut out Samson's head, so it's nothing new. It's history repeating itself. So for that reason, I just talked about it, but I use it as a segue to get people onto my page, and then I transition into some other things. Because now that I got you on my page, now you're going to see what's happening. Now you're going to hear about Jinni Thomas. Jinni Thomas is Virginia Thomas, Clarence Thomas's wife, who had all of this influence in Despicable Donnie's White House, and she was an active player in the failed coup on January 6th of last year. So all of these things I use whatever I can to get your attention. And once I have your attention, then I could tell you what I really wanted to tell you. So for those of you that participated, those of you that are tagged, those of you that chimed in and gave your opinion is no different than mine. I just have an opinion based on my analysis, based on my experience, based on my education. So it is what it is. Now to segue from Will and Jada to having appellate court judge Kejani Brown-Jackson. It looks like she's going to be confirmed as the second black. That's what I said. The second black and the first black woman. We're going to let them have Clarence Thomas. We won't claim him as one of us. As a matter of fact, when I was in D.C., Clarence Thomas attempted to address Howard's School of Law, and they basically challenged him. They asked him some questions, and then they started walking out on him. Consequently, a lady I was dating was in law school at Howard at the time, and Johnny Cochran was their keynote speaker, and the auditorium was busting at the seams. People were running. I say they think the JC stands for Jesus Christ. They were busting down the aisles trying to touch the man, and it was reminiscent of the biblical story, if I could touch the hem of his garment. So we're going to call Judge Kejani Brown-Jackson the second black and the first black woman who appears to become an associate justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. But, and I urge you, let's not let up. Let's not ease up until we regain control of both the House and the Senate, simply because there's things that's happening in the House and Senate that's reminiscent of the relationship of Clarence Thomas to black folks. So that's all I got to say about that. As I see it, we have, moving forward, we can take this momentum, and we have three goals heading into these midterms in upcoming November. The first goal is regaining control of Congress and passing the gavel to someone other than Pelosi to be the Speaker of the House. I say regaining control because for the last year, it does not look like we've had an advantage. It does not look like the Dems, and I started spelling the name instead of DEMs, I started spelling it DIMS because things seem to be, the light seems to be dim as far as Congress is concerned. So, number one is passing the gavel and regaining control of Congress. Number two is passing legislation for Voting Rights Act or John Lewis law and a police reform law or George Floyd law. Number two, passing legislation for a voting rights or John Lewis law and a police reform or George Floyd law. Did I say George Lewis or John Lewis? Well, you know I meant John Lewis if I said that. So I'm having these, I guess I'm having senior moments. I'm so excited, folks. You just don't understand. And number three is turning more states true blue. I don't mean where they have a purple, but the Republicans have a stronger showing than the state. When I say true blue, I mean voting and doing away with some of these restrictive voting laws and laws that are regressive and reminiscent of being back in Jim Crow, what I call James Crow the Third. So let's turn more states true blue and get rid of all of these Republicans in dim clothing. The Kristen Cinemas and the Joe Manchins and others who wear the Democratic name but act contrary to what we need as Dems. I was talking to a friend of mine who said, I knew that Judge Brown-Jackson was going to be confirmed. And I replied, right? Oh, okay, really? I guess you also knew that somehow Trump was going to be elected president and pull off a failed coup d'etat and almost pull off a coup d'etat, a start of failed coup d'etat to try to overthrow the government. Or that Nancy Pelosi's main focus as Speaker of the House would be investing in Wall Street. So when I said that to this person, I wanted to say, fuck out of here. But I'm working on a kind of gentler me. Not that I expect it to happen, but everybody's entitled to their beliefs. So I don't want to be so restrictive that I put others down when they express their feelings. But I also want to keep on talking about, when we talk about Judge Jackson, she's going to be the junior person going to the Supreme Court. We also have to talk about Clarence Thomas because he has this woman laying next to him, Jinni, Jinni Thomas, and she showed how strongly she feels about things, and she was a willing participant in the failed coup attempt. So it's come out how she was calling people and sending text messages and what have you, trying to stop the transfer of power from Trump to Biden. So it just dawns on me, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about a few things. First, I'm going to explain to you my take on why this is so important, the segue of using this whole Chris Oscar slap. And I think the focus should be on Chris. And I'm going to say this simply because Chris is more man than I could ever be. When my son was coming up, I played single parent for a couple of years. And what I told my son is, I know you know how to fight. I know that you are not a punk. But kids today do not take a butt whooping. So there will be no fighting in school. I said it takes a bigger man to walk away. And then I saw what Chris did. And I said, Chris is a much bigger man than me. So we're going to talk about why Chris should get the attention and how things are coming to the contrary. Then I'm going to explain just how moderate pressure of what we've been doing, you tuning in, we expressing a unified front, how this impacts, how our collective voice is heard even when we think they're not listening, even when we think they're not paying attention. Then I'm going to talk about how we can make a difference, how we adjust, how we improvise, how we overcome to these upcoming 2022 midterms. Because nobody's expecting us to be paying attention. Tonight's show is called Simply Don't Count Your Chickens Before They Hatch. My name is Hank Batiste. This is Omit the Logic. This shit makes no sense, but let's do this. Number one up, Will Later or Jadezilla? Jadezilla, well, I can't say Jadezilla. Jade Willer would be the same thing in defending her honor versus spousal envy. I've been putting off a show doing a show on blacks relationships. And it's not just us, it's societal relationships where we are. Once upon a time, we had Father Knows Best, we had the Brady Bunch, we had Leave It to Beaver, and though none of these shows were black, they showed a morality, even if the morality was not real. It preached a subliminal message to practice this thing called decorum. And that's a certain type of behavior. It's an upstanding outward behavior. People in our community, people in my community, people that knew my mom would say, boy, act like you have some home training. Act like you got some sense. And they would say things like, I know your mom and them didn't raise you like that. So that's one of the things that's lacking. And that's the thing that I wanted to push with this. In public speaking and communication, we use this thing called a segue. Segue is S-U-G-U-E, but most people spell it S-U-G-Y-A-W-A-Y. And it's actually a musical term. Being a musician, it means moving from one phrase to another seamlessly. I started the conversation with Waleida or Jadezilla, Jade Willer, to get you talking. And once I drew you in, I knew I could transition a segue into things that are a conversation that truly matter. Right now, our segue is what we've been talking about for the last year. These things that Joe Biden promised his Build Back Better. These things that led the Dems to becoming gems. Because all of a sudden they swept the table and nobody thought it would happen the way it did. And there's no way it would have happened without us. So what we've been talking about is how to get back on track. And that's what we have to stay focused on. What I want to do now is talk about some of the low-key ways we can keep the pressure on. Our voices, trust me, trust me, trust me. And I cannot say this enough. Our voices are being heard. If our voices were not being heard, they wouldn't try so hard to silence us. And I wouldn't get suspended from Facebook so much. So we know that they're listening. When I do my show and I see all of these views of people that I don't know, I know that people are paying attention, even though I don't always know who they are. So we've got some life-changing events coming up in November. When I hear people on MSNBC and CBS and CNN say that if the Republicans or the Trump public Republicans take over again, America as we know it will be no more. And to hear somebody else saying it with all of the censors they have in both network and cable news, you know it has to be true. So I've been screaming it since November the 4th of 2020. We went through a whole year of 2021 of letdowns. Now we're heading into 2022 and we have a chance to make a difference. So we got some low key ways. The thing we have to be concerned about is the adapt, the improvise, and the overcome, because at least 43 out of 50 states have these voter restrictive laws on the book. And some of the federal judges are getting into it and trying to reverse some of these things. Some of them are going to the Supreme Court. And I don't understand how they could rule one time this way and the other time that way. You know, being the highest court of the land, their voice is supposed to be final. So we have to adapt. We have to improvise. We have to overcome. So I'm telling you now, find out about the local and the state elections. Find out about some of the federal elections that's coming on. If you have I know in Georgia, I keep getting these messages from the Dems talking about Reverend Warnock is in jeopardy and this, that, and the other. And I said, if they were as tenacious about passing legislation as they are about asking for money, gas wouldn't be over $2.50. Inflation wouldn't be this high. And those people that are truly the upper crust, that riches 1 to 3%, would be paying their fair share of taxes. So when I sent that message, I got this email back that's saying this email only sends out messages that's not being monitored. Okay, well, guess what? This email recipient can't decipher emails begging for money. So once you get your ish together, then maybe I'll give you something. That's how I feel about that. Big Brother's listening. The power is to be a listener. So what I need for everybody to do is take a deep breath, blow it out. Let's get ready. Find out what the new rules are in your state. Find out if they've changed the voting poll. Find out who's running for office. And now is the time to start doing the research. So that at the last minute, you're not just voting for someone simply because they're a Democrat and they wind up being the wrong Democrat and a Joe Manchin. So going into this thing, you're going to find out who people are. Find out and make sure you can vote. Make sure your name is still on the rolls. I promise you, if our voices didn't count, they wouldn't be fighting so hard to silence us. The thing that really got me about this is right now, the Dems have all of this motivation. But what's happening in the Ukraine and what's supposedly happening with the Russian troops and them losing so many people and having this old antiquated equipment and so forth and so on, it makes them look good on one hand. But on the other hand, domestically, we don't see that same cohesiveness, not even with the Democrats. So if you are listening, Mr. Biden, what I need you to do, instead of just talking tough to Putin, Putin, I need you to I need you to be just as tough with Joe Manchin. How about that? Do that for me. Let me take a breath, move on. Will later, a Jay Willer touch me? Hit me up. Tell me which one you like best. I'm sitting here looking at this other thing and wondering why it didn't work. Okay. Keeping our feet on the gas. Let's reiterate our collect goals for November. You hear me keep talking about voter rights. You hear me keep talking about the John Lewis law. You hear me keep talking about the George Floyd of Police Reform Act. And I keep telling you, Black folks are still dying at the hands of police. And nobody's hearing about it. There's no more national coverage. And I'm right. That slip of the tongue is right. There's no more national courage by the media to give it coverage from sea to shining sea. Just this past week, let me back up a little bit. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, a young man by the name of Amir Locke was shot and killed just outside of Minneapolis. And last year, in 2020, we applauded the Minnesota Attorney General. I think the brother's name is Keith Ellison. We applauded him because he was instrumental in getting the convictions for George Floyd and Dante Wright. And you know the people, the cops that killed them, so I'm not going to give their names any oxygen on the show. I think the focus should be more on the victims. And if you were doing nothing wrong and you were killed, you are a victim. No matter what the press did to point out your shortcomings, you are a victim. In my humble opinion, the worst thing that could have happened was no national media coverage, because the cop that shot Amir Locke, and let me tell you a little bit about it. Amir Locke was in his house asleep, and it was so much reminiscent of Breonna Taylor. And just like Breonna Taylor, this cop will get away with it. Somehow Ellison chose not to prosecute or press charges. Now, from where I'm sitting, it would look like these local fraternal orders of police and police unions are putting so much pressure on Mr. Ellison, the Attorney General in Minneapolis. They're putting so much pressure on the district attorneys in Minneapolis and other places, not only in Minnesota, but around the country. And now there's less and less coverage. They've convinced the media that it's harder for them to do the job under a microscope. And I say, if you put a spotlight on me, I'm gonna shine. What I used to tell my people when I was at Bethesda, if you treat everybody like a VIP, then you don't have to do anything different when the president comes in, or a member of Congress, or a foreign dignitary. You don't have to do anything. It's second nature to you now. So to those police unions, to those fraternal orders of police, to those district attorneys, to those attorney generals, from Merrick on down, from Merrick Garland, the U.S. Attorney General on down, if you put a spotlight on these police departments, if you make them go back to Adam 12 versus Dirty Harry, it won't matter, because they'll be doing what they have to do. And some of those people that's wearing a gun and a badge that should not have a gun and a badge won't make it on to the police force. Or if they do, it will be filtered out and gotten rid of, instead of hopping from one jurisdiction to the other and bringing those bad habits with them. Okay. In my humble opinion, if the media gives us national coverage, maybe, just maybe, we can put the pressure back on. Maybe, just maybe, we can get a voter rights legislation law passed. Maybe, just maybe, we can get some police reform laws that have some bite and will hold these people's feet to the fire. And black men, brown men, black women, brown women, people of color will not continue to die at the hands of the police. This thing I keep telling you, it presses my Christian buttons. Because on one hand, I see what's happening in the Ukraine. And my heart hurts for the atrocities. But by the same token, truth be told, when I see the statistics that prove that black people in general and black men specifically, especially, are dying at a disproportionate rate that's 6 times higher, I cannot say this enough. So yeah, okay, I'm done with it. Maybe I'm not. Last week I made an analogy. I told a story of an encounter that I had. And I told a story of the epiphany that I had. And I said that if Jesus were to come back today and he looked like his biblical description, if he had hair like sheep's wool and he had my complexion and he had feet like burnt bronze, and he told anybody he was the Son of Man, the Son of God, he would be deemed crazy. The police would show up and he would catch center mass, shooting, still shooting, still shooting. So some say it was blasphemous, my analogy. But I said this. This is exactly the reason why we need to stay diligent and focused. Because at some point, this is going to be somebody that's near you and dear you and me. So let's keep the issues current. Let's keep on making it relevant as we move toward these midterm elections. And when you see the people that are here, and when I say here, I mean local elections, state elections, the questions that you should be asking them, if you are elected, what are you going to do about voting rights act? Now I go from being happy to being pissed. What are you going to do to make sure that my sons, my grandsons, and people that look like me don't continue to be shot and killed? I know a lot of police, and I'm going to say this to you. Police are just like doctors. Some of my people here work in the hospital, and the first thing they'll tell you, not all doctors are good. And what I'm going to tell you now is not all police are bad. So I said what I said. I meant what I said. Moving on. With this thing happening overseas, we have some momentum. With this black woman going to the U.S. Supreme Court, we have hope. What you and I starting to see is it was dark as hell. Just when we thought the sun was starting to shine and we got rid of Trump's behind, we had these closet wolves. And then we had these Dems who are not given the same amount of press and media coverage as presidential elections. And they lead you to believe that they're not as important. But I'm here to tell you that everybody, from Nancy Pelosi to Joe Biden, with the exception of that knucklehead, that statistical outlier that I call despicable, delusional Donnie Trump. And I'll say this again. It's not that they were voting so much for Trump in the beginning. It's just that they were voting against Hillary. We've got to stop having these elections where we're trying to pick the lesser of two evils. And how we do that moving forward, I told you I was going to tell you. Now I'm telling you. How we do that and make sure we're not picking the lesser of two evils, go start getting involved. Now that COVID is kind of over, wear your mask. But now we have public forums where we can talk to the people that's running for office. We can hold their feet to the fire when they don't do what they're supposed to. And if you're from West Virginia, if you're from Arizona, here's a chance for you to get things on the ballot and start rescinding some of these people. If you have not been doing what we elected you to do, then we can put something on a ballot to remove you and have someone else appointed. So there's a way to deal with this. In the House of Representatives, it's only 2 years. In the Senate, we're stuck with people for 6 years. So let's make our vote count. Let's find out who we are voting for. Let's not wait until we get in there and say, well, I'm just going to go down the line, and if they got a D by their name, I'm going to vote for them. Start holding people accountable now. Find out when their politics change. I know I'm preaching tonight, and that wasn't what I planned to do. But I'm gonna cut this short. I want to go. I want to see what's happening. I know you want to see what's happening. We have a chance here. We have hope. Here's where we take a breath, blow that out. Here's where we get a little taste. Here's where we catch our breath. Here's where we educate ourselves. Here's where we find out how they have changed the rules so that last year you were voting at the elementary school. This year you might be voting at the church or at the courthouse. So first of all, find out where you're voting. Second of all, find out who you're voting for. Third and most importantly, make sure that you're on the roll and that you meet the criteria to vote. And fourth and most importantly, get your behind out. I know this is so somewhat of an all for midterm, but get your behind out and vote. If you do that, then the next time we have this advantage, or this majority, we can put this pressure. We can build a national coalition to get rid of the Manchin and the cinemas. That's all I got for you tonight, folks. And I want to say this one last thing, one more again. Mr. President, if you're listening, all that tough talk you do to Putin, I need you to do that to Joe Manchin. If you do that, if that does not work, then pull out your ink pen and do some executive orders. Get us back. Show us your big vision of Build Back Better and make it count. Otherwise, for the next 2 years, it's over for you, partner. That's all I got for you tonight. I'm going to say this one more again before I go. I had a lot of one more agains tonight. If you are not already subscribed, go to my website and subscribe. I changed it as simple as all outdoors. OMITDALOGIC is the name of my website, of my channel. My YouTube channel is called OMITDALOGIC, just how I spell it. OMIT, OMITDALOG. OMITDALOGIC. So you have no excuse. You don't have to remember anything fancy. It's not the real Hank Batiste. It's not none of that. OMITDALOGIC, YouTube, go, subscribe, hit the bell, ring the bell, give me some thumbs up, share my show with other folks because this message, like I said, is for everybody. And once you do that, you'll know when I post something. If other people are listening, why aren't you? If other people that I don't even know are tuning in to my YouTube, that are not my Facebook friends, because at any point in time, Mark Zuckerberg can kick me off. And then what? So all you have to do is subscribe. You don't have to sign up for YouTube TV or a YouTube Premium or any of that. You click the link, you hit subscribe. If it asks you for anything else, just say no. So as always, that's all I got for you tonight. I promise that's it. I would say go to my YouTube. Did I say go to my YouTube? No, I'm just teasing. As I always say, folks, don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live for purpose. Because the one thing for this thing, the one thing about this thing, the one thing about this thing called life, nobody lives alive to make it worth something. And you got some people coming behind you. Even if you don't have a son, a grandson, a daughter, a granddaughter, you've got a niece or a nephew. You got some people in your community. So here's how we do our thing to make sure that they have some of the advantages that you and I take for granted. See you next week, right here. See you next week, right here. Same Batiste time, same Batiste place. As always, my name is Hank Batiste. This is OMITDALOGIC. This shit don't make no sense. This shit makes no sense. But every week, we're going to make sense of it. And as always, important, I wish you love. I wish you peace. Like your man had Grease. I'm out of here. Good night, people. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. Good night. Keep your head up. Take a breath. Strap in. We got a thing going against us, but we going to beat them. See y'all next week. I'm out of here. Good night. Peace. Mama say, mama son, mama son. Any problems? YouTube? Talking to you now? Talking to you now? Talking to you now?